In this video, I'm going to talk about some engineering features, and that is a fillet and a chamfer. Fillets are also sometimes called rounds. Technically, if you have an internal feature like this, where you would be adding material to round that edge out, it would be called a fillet. And if you're removing material to round that edge out, it would be called a round. But in SolidWorks, they're all just called fillet. So let's get started with that. In my features tab, I'm going to come over to fillet. And I want to select my items to fillet. Let's start with this edge. And if you don't see this preview automatically, you can drop down here. You can see a full preview or a partial preview or no preview at all. But let's do a full preview and look at it from this view. So we can see that I have symmetric selected and a 0.5 inch radius. So that means that this curve has a radius of 0.5 inches. It's going to be tangent on either side, and it's symmetrical. It's a consistent radius across the entirety of the fillet. I have some other options I can play around with here and down here as well if I want it to be asymmetric and change that radius so it's not consistent across the entire thing. I can do that as well. Or I can change the fillet type. So that it is not consistent across. Another thing I can do is I can take this whole surface here and make it round. Let me show you what that would look like. I'm going to grab this surface here, this one, and this one. Oops, not that way. Just like that. And that's what that preview would look like. If I'm happy with my fillet, I can accept. The next thing I want to show you is the chamfer feature. So if I go back into fillets and hit this drop down, chamfer is an option. And the setup is very similar. You have several different ways that you can set up this chamfer. This one is kind of cool. You just select a point and it makes that chamfer across 3 surfaces. I can also play around. This is a more basic chamfer. The distance is 0.5, the angle is 45 degrees. Obviously, I can change these in here or down here. And I can see it modify with that preview. If this is blocking my view, I can always move this around. But there's other ways that I can make the same chamfer. I can do 2 distances instead of a distance and an angle. If I want that to be 0.5, I can mess around with these. There's a lot of different ways that you can make different chamfers. Again, let me move my picture over. I can mess with the symmetry of it if I want it to be at that angle. If I want it to be at that angle, but I don't want to use the angle feature, I can just set 2 different distances. And we can see how that would play out. So just to show a couple more examples, I can grab, not that, this internal edge. Maybe I want that to be a fillet, just something simple. I'll go back to symmetric and accept. Same thing here, but maybe I want this to be smaller. And I have a lot of options with these features. I really recommend you go in and play around with them a little bit.